Uh, Although I loved science fiction, I was just beginning my career and I thought, oh, I'm going to be pigeonholed.
The actors weren't just sweating under bright studio lights. They were burning alive inside robot suits that reached over 130 degrees. A 10-year-old boy left the set with trauma that would follow him for life. The hero, once hailed as Zorro, was forced to lie on live television. And the leading lady, once celebrated for her intellect, was reduced to serving men. They weren't lost in the galaxy. They were trapped inside a Hollywood soundstage, blinded by the illusion of perfection. In 1965, Lost in Space premiered, sold as the great American dream in an age of rockets and wonder. A family of astronauts adrift among the stars, carrying faith, science, and morality. But behind the glow of that dream was a set filled with tension, silence, and pain no one dared to speak of. Guy Williams, the man who once stood for justice as Zorro, became John Robinson, the smiling, perfect father. But he soon realized perfection was just another lie. When he objected to a script where Robinson deceives his family, CBS dismissed him. The American father is never wrong. Williams played the part, but it broke something inside him. "I used to express my convictions in a role," he said later. "This time, I had to hide them." Lost in Space became his golden cage, shiny, admired, but empty. June Lockhart, born into Hollywood royalty, had joined the cast believing women could be portrayed as equals, scientists, leaders, explorers. But producers laughed when she suggested her character hold a star map. "A woman can't be a believable scientist," they said. So she smiled, cooked, and asked her husband, "Are you sure, John?" For years she accepted it, until she realized she was perpetuating the very lie she despised. Decades later, when she watched Alien and the X-Files, she whispered, "If I'd been stronger, maybe Maureen would have been the first to step off that ship." For Marta Kristen, who played Judy, regret came in the form of love. Her chemistry with co-star Mark Goddard was undeniable, but the network erased every look, every touch. "They were afraid of emotion," she said. "I felt like a doll in a glass case, pretty, but soulless." Love was banned in Lost in Space. Human emotion was the one thing forbidden. For Bill Mumy, only 10 years old, the set became a nightmare. The explosions and shaking were real, not effects. He cried in fear, and the director shouted, "Cut! Perfect!" No one asked if he was okay. Years later, he battled panic attacks and insomnia. "They said I was lucky to be famous," he said. "But I know what I lost: my childhood." Inside the robot suit was Bob May, a man suffocating in a 200-pound metal prison. There was no air, no light, only the smell of burning skin. When fans remembered the robot, they forgot him. "I was the soul inside that machine," he said. "But no one ever saw me." Jonathan Harris, who played the scheming Dr. Smith, turned a cold villain into an icon of wit and humor, and into a coded expression of his own identity in an era that forbade difference. "I turned a villain into a legend," he said later. "But to do that, I had to betray who I really was." Even Mark Goddard, the show's dashing hero, spent decades hiding from the series, ashamed of its campy turn. Only years later did he admit, "I was embarrassed, but it was the best part of my life." By its final season, CBS had stripped away all depth and meaning, turning Lost in Space into a toy commercial. "They killed the show just to sell plastic robots," Guy Williams said. "What began as a story about courage became a product to be packaged and sold." When the lights went out and the Jupiter 2 fell silent, the actors carried their invisible scars. They had made millions believe that love and morality could survive among the stars. Yet behind the scenes, they'd learned the cruel truth. In Hollywood, morality can be rewritten, love can be erased, and innocence can be sold frame by frame. Because in Lost in Space, sin tu na dilewasten tuar tinki quan fuetus, no one was truly lost among the stars. They were lost inside Hollywood itself. If this story made you see that side of Hollywood differently, like, comment, and subscribe to the Backstage Eyes, where we keep uncovering the truths that were never meant to be seen.